You could practically call this round 2, fight. Considering in 2013, after the split between Jeff Tate and the rest of the members of Queensryche, well, split, more like he was fired, we had 2 albums that carried the Queensryche banner. Tate's new band, which released FU, or Frequency Unknown, in 2013, which was then followed by the self-titled album by Queensryche, the rest of the band, which was now fronted by Todd LaTorre. Winner of that round, well, Queensryche with Todd LaTorre. So here we are in 2015, everything's been settled. Now Jeff Tate's version of Queensryche is entitled Operation Mindcrime. They just released the key a couple of weeks ago, and here we have Queensryche with Todd LaTorre releasing Condition Human. It's still a bit confusing, even though the confusion has kind of been removed based around the fact that Jeff Tate's band is now named something else, but it's still hard to kind of describe. It's weird. So let's talk about Condition Human, since we've already talked about the key. In fact, there's a link up here for a couple of reviews, including the 2 from 2013, and also the key by Operation Mindcrime, which was released, as I said, just a few weeks ago. But with Condition Human, Todd LaTorre is still with the band, obviously, and they are here to try to address one situation, one problem that many people did have with Queensryche, the self-titled album, and that was the fact it was only 35 minutes long. It felt way too short, and it was a really rockin' album. It was one that was fantastic and a great surprise in the June portion of 2013. So, what do we have to say about Condition Human? And I think the best way to start is comparing it to what the groundwork was that was started with the self-titled album. And that self-titled album really showcased that Todd LaTorre resembles the Jeff Tate from the 1980s and the early 1990s. He really does. He vocally has a style that almost sounds like you take them back to that age and they could be vocal brothers. It's almost like Rob Halford and Bruce Dickinson, where they do have differences among them. However, they have something very similar, some commonalities from vocalization. But with this one, with this disc, Condition Human, my God, it's almost as though Todd LaTorre has somehow gone back in time and absorbed the soul of Jeff Tate's singing ability from that age, considering he is able to mirror this without even expending any effort, considering this is his natural tone as a vocalist. Arrow of Time is the first track that you catch off of this album, and it was offered to anybody who participated in the funding of this album, as well as the pre-ordering of this disc. It was released as a single. Now that Queensryche fans can also be Queensryche shareholders, which is kind of a unique idea, perhaps the wave of the future for some bands. But Arrow of Time starts this off with a very strong foot, and it's one that is actually, it's a strong enough intro, but it's not the songs that you're really coming to see. This is a part of the album in the very onset where it's an escalation process, where Guardian, Hellfire, and Toxic Remedy all seem to take the last song and step it up just a little bit further. The choruses are extremely epic. The overall rhythm and the pattern of this composition by the band is really top-notch on these opening tracks. They get off on just such a great start. And then you go into Selfish Lives, which just... Selfish Lives sounds to me like what would happen if you took a song like, say, Revolution Calling and put it into 2015. And I don't mean that based around tone or pace or anything like that, but a song that has single written all over it. It has that potential to really be a huge song, and the only reason why it may not is because it's 2015 and that style, this style of music isn't necessarily A, surprising anybody anymore, and B, people are too busy listening to people whipping fucking nay-nay like a stupid bunch of tards. But this is a great track simply because of its pacing and also based around the overall composition. It really takes a lot of cue and effort from the late 1980s, early 90s, probably up to the Empire material of Queensryche, where it has aggression. It does have a little bit of heaviness behind it, but also has melody and heart. This is definitely an album that has the potential at times to tug at you a little bit emotionally, and perhaps half of it is based around the fact that it really channels that old school, old style approach to Queensryche, which really makes you really lust for that and kind of happy to experience it again, even if it's not with Jeff Tate. And Either that or just based around the content itself. Queensryche have always written albums that felt a little bit socially conscious and a little bit forward thinking, and this is one that really showcases that once again. They're still showcasing and still stating that we are a world that is literally driving itself into turmoil and driving itself toward its end, and it's evidenced alone by the cover of Condition Human, where a scene that's basically innocent is then really devoured by the negativity that seems to surround it. It's a beautiful but yet haunting image. Moving on to the second half of the album, this is where things get a little bit rugged. The terrain starts to get a little bit tense, considering they have already set up this wonderful 5-song stretch to begin the album, and I-9 actually, track 6, is able to sort of follow it up, but it does not escalate onto what Selfish Lives already did. It's more of a downgrade. But Bulletproof and Hourglass are also both very solid songs, and with Hourglass, this is where you see the expansion of some of these compositions. This is where the songs start to get a little bit longer, which means that they are taking on some different themology. Just Us is another great example of that, nearly clocking in at the 6-minute mark, which then takes us to All There Was and the Aftermath. All There Was really feels out of place here, considering it is definitely a lot more aggressive. It has more of a gallop to it than Just Us did, and even Hourglass to a certain extent. So this is one that feels a little bit off-putting whenever you first hear it come through your speakers, but at the same time, it's able to maintain itself quite well. The Aftermath, which is track number 11, follows that strange philosophy in having a vocalized 56-minute long, or second-long track, which seems like it's a setup a little bit to Condition Human, which is the 7.5, nearly 8-minute long finale to this album, which really, whenever you look at that, you immediately think of songs like Eyes of a Stranger and the like to really, I guess, give you that element or that idea of a finale song. We kind of saw that a little bit with The Key by Operation Mindcrime a couple weeks ago. This one doesn't quite have that same charm to it, but it really doesn't matter, considering this song has a little bit more of a soul behind it, and it's one that definitely feels a bit different. It has that same philosophy that's exhibited for those late album numbers that you heard from the late 80s and early 90s from Queensryche. It's almost like they dialed into the playbook a little bit on this record, and it just has more of an interesting concept behind it, even if it doesn't necessarily have those big choruses and that big riff that really seems to follow Queensryche material of that same age. So where do we talk in terms of a score here? What really do we have? Do we have failure to communicate with Condition Human? No, we don't. In fact, this is one where Queensryche fans that have been in the fold for quite some time and maybe fell out of the fold based around all of the conflict will find a grand amount of pleasure from this album. They will derive a lot of great memory while also making new ones with this disc. It just seems like the band was not satisfied with just going in and writing a Queensryche album that they've been writing kind of for the past 10 years. And once again, that showcases just how much the influence of Jeff Tate over that course really led to some of the negative albums that are now among some of the worst reviewed of all time on this channel. It really showcases that input and that writing with another individual, aside from writing with his band, really not only hurt the rapport of the band themselves, but also hurt the material in a strong way, because these guys are ready and willing to pump out songs just like these, and it was almost as though it was ignored. So this is an 88 out of 100 album. My lord, it's just so good to see Queensryche back like this, to see now 2 straight albums where the self-titled album was no fluke. Instead, it was merely the John the Baptist, the heralding cry to the bigger full length that was to follow here in 2015 with Condition Human. And I just love the fact that this band is not sacrificing their roots and trying to do something all of that different just because they have a new face at the front of this band. Instead, they are really reinforcing the fact that this gentleman only builds their roots even further into the ground and really drives their legend even further into the sky. It's really quite an amazing thing that Todd LaTorre was able to hook up with this band and to be their singer, because it's such a perfect fit. It's uncanny. But I want to know what you guys think about Condition Human. How do you think it compares to The Key by Jeff Tate, Operation Mindcrime? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think about Todd LaTorre. Did you know that he was scheduled to be the frontman of a Crimson Glory album? He was actually in the band, but they never recorded the album. And then Queensryche came and knocking. It's kind of an interesting thing. Let me know what you think about this album, what you think about this band, what you think about Todd in the comments below. I'm coverkillernation, and I will talk to you later. Also, don't forget to check out the reviews of the Queensryche self-titled album, the Operation Mindcrime's The Key, as well as F.U. by Jeff Tate's Queensryche, or TateLIKE as I call it. I'll talk to you later. Peace.